Okay, welcome back. For this last video we're going to be working on the small details of the painting. So we're really going to bring out the highlights in some areas and the darker values in other areas, and we're just going to generally tidy up the whole thing and just make it look a little bit more presentable. So first of all, I'm going to do a value check, so take that value down a little bit. Now we have some areas that we haven't really addressed, so I'm just going to take the pointed stump and we're just going to start to clean up some of these edges of some of these rock faces that we haven't really touched since the initial blocking. So dragging the original colour around, we'll just try and separate some of these edges and some of these faces of these rocks. Now the river is on the same layer. We can start to blend some of this in as well. Trying to create the darker value in the foreground there. Pulling up some details on this rock that's in the middle of this river. Give it a little bit of form. Some of these edges need blending in. Create a nice crisp edge for this foreground rock. Drag some of that snow area around to form the edges of that rock in front of it. Okay, I'm happy with that. Some more detail on the river there. Trying to show that the river is running towards these rocks, so you're going to have some white water on some of these edges there. Blending in a bit more of the darker value of the river in the foreground. Back to the pastel brush. Some more detail on the water, highlights. Colour picking with the express key again there. Using high values to separate that background area. Now I'm going to detail some of this rock in the foreground here. We'll put some moss or some sort of plants that are growing on this ledge. Now we're using a blue green because this area is mainly in shadow, so we don't want this to be a bright warm green. It needs to be a cool bluish green. You can see on the colour wheel that this is actually an extremely dark green, but you can still see it's actually quite bright against the existing dark value that we've already got. Now these are two different surfaces, so they'll have different values. Stones and plants will reflect light in different ways. We can afford to go quite bright with some of the values. Sometimes the leaves are incredibly shiny and they'll reflect light a lot more than a rock that's covered in sand or something like that. In this top area, we can afford to go a little bit warmer with some of the greens. It's a lighter edge. It looks like it's turning round the corner towards where the light is starting to hit that rock face. Just adding a bit more shadow and variation to some of the darker areas, the cracks in the rocks. Bit more variation on the green. 3 or 4 colours will tend to look better than just 1 or 2. So we can introduce some of these warmer greens now. Now I'm going to colour pick some of the greens and then boost the value and change the colour to a brighter yellow green. Now looking to create the edge of this rock face with the brightest value. And the brush at this point is very small because we're adding the details and just very small variations in the texture that we already have. These couple of areas in the middle are getting most of the light. That's because we are trying to draw our eye through the painting, and that part in the middle just so happens it's going to be the brightest part with the most colour. The background is obviously bright with the snow, so this is going to give us a good contrast for the final piece. Small areas of highlight here and there. Don't go too crazy with the highlights on the sides. We just want small areas dropped in here and there. Now we're picking a yellow colour, and we can add some highlights on this bank here because it's starting to look a bit dark in comparison to those bright greens. Detailing in some of those areas with this high value yellow. As we get further back, I've increased the value even more. Some small highlights here and there using that high value yellow. I've decided that the mountain in the background needs a bit more variation, so I'm going back to the Pointed Stump blender, and we're just going to change a little bit of the this area on the back. Now I'm going to draw in with the pastel brush, colour pick, and then detail some of these areas. Now the detailing is the longest part of any painting, so we can speed this up and maybe just listen to a bit of music for this last piece. After I finished the painting, I decided to rotate the canvas just to finish it off, give it a bit more dynamic. I took the contrast up about 10% and added some birds in the foreground for a element of scale. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope it's given you some ideas. Thanks very much for watching.